Hey crochet fans, Tashia Butterfield here, alpaca rancher and crochet instructor. Welcome to Forever Bliss Crochet. Today we're talking about yarn over versus yarn under. Now you may not have heard of yarn under before, but it is a real thing. You might have heard of yarn over. I'm pretty sure you have because it's a part of every single crochet stitch. The issue is, I think that some people are doing yarn unders when they think they're doing yarn overs. So let me show you what I mean. A yarn under is when the yarn lays over the hook. Whether you wrap the yarn or you wrap the hook, the end result is that you have the yarn over your hook. Now I'm doing double crochets here, so of course we yarn over first in a double crochet. We enter in the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. So we have 4 yarn overs in a double crochet. So I thought it was a good stitch to kind of show you today. However, a yarn under is when the yarn comes from underneath the hook. It's not laying over it, it's laying underneath of it. So I don't think a lot of people get the initial yarn over wrong, but I'm going to do all these yarn over unders just to show you for effect. So yarn under, go through, yarn under, pull through, yarn under, pull through 2, and this is really weird. That first yarn over is just really weird. Yarn under and pull through, but that is really tight. Okay, so those are 2 stitches. The yarn over and the yarn under, in which up here there's just a bunch of tight stuff that look kind of funny. Okay, so I really don't think there's someone who does all yarn unders. I don't think that's realistic. What I do think is that there are some people that kind of mix them up. And you may think that it doesn't make a difference, but let me show you. I have an example here of single crochet that I did all in yarn unders. So of course in single crochet there's only 2 yarn overs, so there's only 2 chances to do yarn unders. And then I did another swatch, the same stitches across and the same rows tall, but in yarn overs. You see a difference? Yarn unders really do affect the size of your stitches. They are not going to make your stitches as tall as they should be, and they're going to make your fabric really tight. I mean, like, it makes your gauge, your tension, very tight. And I think if you are yarning under, it is causing frustrations in your crochet. It's giving you problems, not only in creating your stitches, but also in your end result. Because if you're doing a lot of yarn unders, you can understand how your gauge is going to be totally off. And that has got to be really frustrating. So let me show you some of the more common ways people are doing yarn unders and why it makes a difference. We're back to the double crochets, and like I said, I think a lot of people do get the yarn over correct when they begin the stitch. The second yarn over though, I think some people do a yarn under because they think it's just easy to grab that way rather than a yarn over, which is this direction. See how the yarn is over the hook versus the yarn is under the hook. All right, so say they do a yarn under for this. I've done some experimenting and I honestly don't see how a yarn under in that part of the stitch makes much of a difference. I think it is tighter though, because all yarn unders, the tension is tighter. However, this next one, to complete the stitch, whether, for a single, you'd only have 1 more yarn over to go. For the other stitches, of course, we have a few more yarn overs to go. But in here, at this point, this is where I see beginners make the mistake, and it's causing them some troubles. So this is where you should be going underneath to the back. Hook is always in the front, underneath to the back, wrapping around the hook where it is laying over. The yarn is now laying over. Okay, we understand that, right? And you pull through. Now there are some people that do a yarn under, and you can see how the yarn, yes, it's coming from underneath the hook. And by yarning under, you are leaving the yarn in front of the hook which means this yarn is actually in your way. Let's get closer. It's in your way of getting through these loops. You see it there? So you have to avoid this, trying to get through here. And it causes a lot of people some stress because the yarn isn't moving very well and they're struggling with it, which makes this loop tight. It makes it tight. It doesn't even flow through these two loops as easily as it does with a yarn over. Trust me. So say they do it again. Yarn under. I'm telling you, the feel of it is it's tight and it doesn't work quite well. All right, so here we have where we started off with the yarn over and then did 3 yarn unders. So compare this to these over here that are all yarn overs. So ignore this one. We're looking at this one and this one. So you see a difference between the two. First off, this is a lot skinnier and this part up here is a lot tighter. See how this is open? That is going to affect the way that you can stick your hook into the V of that stitch for the next row. It is going to affect your tension right here and your ability to get your hook in there. All right, so let's look at someone who they yarned over correctly at first. They yarn under, all right? And now let's look at the difference between yarn over and yarn under at this point. Remember, a yarn under, the yarn is actually coming from the bottom and it's laying in front of the hook and that is in the way coming through. If you yarn over, that yarn is now behind the hook and the hook is pushing it out of the way and you have a much clearer pathway to get your hook through these loops. And I'm telling you, it feels different. The way the hook can move now through these loops feels different, and you can actually get more yarn through that stitch now, which means that this area in here is not tight. I will comfortably be able to get a hook through the V of that stitch coming back through. So now let's see, we have this one over here, all yarn overs. It's kind of curling there. All yarn overs. This one's all yarn unders. This one starts with the yarn over and the other 3 are yarn unders. This one starts with the yarn over. The first pull through was the yarn under and then 2 yarn overs. So what do you think? Looking at these 4 stitches, this one fills in the space the best. It is flattest across the front, and I think in general it just plain looks better. And not only that, like I've already said a number of times, yarn unders are a struggle to work with. So if you notice, now that I've shown you, if you are doing yarn unders and you're struggling with your tension, you're struggling with your speed, you need to experiment now with yarn overs and making sure that where a yarn over is supposed to be is a true yarn over and not a yarn under. And I always tell my students, the hook is in front, underneath to the back. The hook is in front, underneath to the back. Now once you get that habit established, then you'll notice this is what happens. All right, so underneath to the back we have a yarn over, we come through. When you put your hook through the stitch, it is already behind this yarn. Swoop, got it. That's the yarn over. It pulls through so nicely. You pull that up, your hook is in front of the yarn already. Swoop, come through too. As you pull it, you know, your new loops, you're always pulling it up to your hook that has the diameter. You're not keeping it down here. Don't keep it down there with a small new loop and then go like that. You're gonna have trouble both ways. Trouble with that loop, trouble with your yarn under. As you're pushing your new loop to the diameter of your hook, look, the head is in front of the yarn. Swoop, and you're done. And you make nice wide like it's supposed to, full all the way around, and smooth across the front. So here we have our compromised stitches, these three. This one's nice, and this one is nice. Thank you for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you kind of correct some things that you're having trouble with. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who you suspect is doing yarn unders. And then remember also to subscribe to my channel. If you have ideas for other topics you'd like for me to cover in future videos, please leave me a comment down below. See you in the next video.